Hello everybody, welcome back to Modify Then Destroy version 2. I decided to make a version 2 of this deck, which I posted a short while ago, because I've started to run into a bunch of life gain decks, basically, so clerics or mono white life gain and various other life gain decks on the ladder. And what I was finding is that the curve of the deck was a little bit too high, it was a little bit too slow, and it didn't quite have enough removal um, to deal with the sort of Voice of the Blessed or whatever other growing Trelasara, other growing creatures quick enough before they got out of the scale that a red-green deck can deal with. So what I've done is try to build the deck again, incorporating a bit more removal. So started with 4 Brittle Blasts and 4 Kami's Flares. So 8 removal spells to deal with either 3 toughness or up to 5 toughness creatures. This sort of 8 removal spells is quite a lot, but it is actually needed in the current meta. I think with this type of deck, you've got to get just under the curve of some of the sort of life gain or clerics decks before they get out of hand, and I think this level of removal is what I found has really been required. I've then gone to 8 1-drops, so both Kamani Face Kakazan Steel and Tenacious Pup. So this is both of these will put a 1/1 counter, with this one putting Trample and Vigilance on the next creature. So the ideal run out is obviously we put Kamani vs Kakazan or Tenacious Pup on turn 1, and then Rahilda, turn 2, is probably still our best 2-drop to follow up with. But failing that, I've ditched Ranger class completely because that sort of nombo with these cards wasn't working for me, particularly with this one because the 1/1 counter only goes on if you cast the creature spell the next turn that the saga triggers. This one will, the trigger will sit on the stack in the alchemy style way, but will sit as an effect in the alchemy style way. But this one, you really need to be casting a creature spell on the next turn, which is why I've increased the 2-drop creature count up to 7. Rahilda is the best drop. Yeah, what I've gone is 1 Goro Goro, Disciple of Ryusei, which can give other creatures haste for 1 red, or create a 5/5 Dragon Spirit token if we are attacking with a modified creature. That does occasionally come up now that I've lowered the curve of the deck. Having 5 mana spare does happen sometimes. And a single Capitec Wrecker, just because there are still quite a few enchantment and artifact decks bouncing around, and it does, it's a card that can come in and modify itself with that Death Touch counter. So it's modified when it comes in, which the others aren't. And then as an interesting inclusion, I've put 2 bloodthirsty adversaries. So a 2/2 haste for 2 is nice, but also it's given me that chance to sort of replay some of this early removal that we play. So and often a play pattern for this deck is one of these on turn 1, anything except an adversary on turn 2 if we have one. Then some kind of removal on turn 3, and then a 4-drop on turn 4, and then bloodthirsty adversary on turn 5 is a nice, perfect curve out for this deck. Um, in the 3-drop slots, we've got 6, so I've still got 2 Tovolar Dire Overlord, just because basically that threat of card draw and somewhere else to stick all of the mana in the late game if it's night time is still very powerful. Obviously, I've removed the Paxong Pups that I had in, or I was trialing in this before, so I'm slightly short of Wolves, potentially for getting this to work, but there does seem to still be plenty that this is always a threat to the opponent, and I'm only running 2 of them. 3 Kodama of the West Tree still, this is the core of the deck from before, it's still a top performer in the deck, and then we've got 1 Reckless Stormseeker, just because it's a brilliant card. It's a further form of haste, and it pairs very well with the Halana and Alina's, which I've gone up to 3. I think I had 2 before. Because this really is the sort of powerhouse engine of the deck that's going to get the game finished, especially paired with Kodama. That sort of growing creature threat that has trample is such a strong combination, and I think what I've basically realised is this is the 4-drop that we need. The others are a bit more optional. Halana and Alina is the best one. So still running 3 Thundering Raijus, I think down from 4. It is a nice sort of haste creature, which is a powerful, unexpected game ender for people, especially with that sort of inbuilt shock that it has attached to it. However, if I had to cut a 4-drop, I think I'd cut the Raijus before the partners. I just think it's not quite as good a synergy with Kodama and the other sort of get you over the top at 4-drop. It's still slightly weak. I mean, To me, if this card was changed so that the the X damage to each opponent included the Raiju itself, I think it would be brilliant. But not having that, it's just slightly weak. But and then we've got one Arl in the Pax Hope. This is basically to increase our wolf count a little bit for Tovolar, but also that 5/5 trample indestructible haste um, and a planeswalker creature like that will always be modified. It's just a nice top end to have as well at times, as well as obviously being able to cause our other creatures to enter with 1/1 counters on, and flash catches people out all the time. So one Arlen, and that is the new deck basically. I've been finding it be a lot more successful than the other deck just due to the enhanced removal, slightly lower curve on average. Well, I think we're looking at yeah, 2.4. So between 2 and 3 is a pretty solid place for an aggro deck to be based, unless it's a really low curve aggro deck. And what I'm finding is top performers really in the deck is this Kamanu faces Kakazan, being able to do 1 damage, put a 1/1 counter on something, and then get a 2/2 that can exile things is so much value for 1 mana. It is unbelievable. So if I ever have the choice of 1-drops to play, I tend to play the Kamanu faces Kakazan just because of the absolute value attached to it. I'll tend to play Rahilda on turn 2 if I have a choice, and obviously these are a bit more subjective as to which which 3-drop to play. But what I'll do is record a few more games and show you how the deck's now playing compared to how it did before. I haven't deleted the old version of the deck in my library. I still have it just because I have a feeling that if the meta shifts to a slightly later game or a couple of different cards come out in the next set, it could still be handy. However, at the moment, I do feel that this is the optimal version of the Gruul modified deck. So, as I said, I'll show through a few games and let you guys see the difference. Okay, so we're on the draw here. We've got our opening combination of Kamano into Rahilda, so we will keep. Being on the draw is always slightly more of a challenge for this deck, but it's not impossible, but not by a long shot. So, and the Kamano faces Kakazan is particularly nice against cards like Cursebound Witch, where people always seem to forget about the fact that this exiles the creature, i.e. they don't get the death trigger. Although the fact that they're attacking with the Witch there implies to me that they're setting up for a deadly dispute, so they will get the death trigger in that case. Vanishing Verse maybe instead. Deadly dispute, okay. I think it's the right choice from the opponent because there's plenty of Vanishing Verse targets in my deck for them. And now they've got all the cards to draw some more removal for this Rahilda. Basically, Rahilda is a must-remove card, which is nice at a 2-drop. So let's see how they're going to do it. Pay the 3 life for the land. Still not in range of Meat Hook or anything like that. So, okay, Witch's Vengeance. Interesting. That implies to me they don't have any other option for removal because you would definitely hold on to that if you could, especially knowing this is coming down this turn. Just want to keep the pressure up on the board here because the thing is with these Orzhov decks is as soon as they get a chance to breathe with all that card advantage and token generation, they'll take over. I think it's just keeping at least like somewhere between like at least 3 power on the board. It's kind of what you need to do against these decks. If you're hitting them for 3 a turn plus, sort of keeping a good tempo up so that you can get that finishing shot in. As soon as it slows below that, I'd say it starts to really be the grind in the opposite direction. Opponent's having a deep thought here about how to take this turn after paying 3 life for their land. Okay, that's an interesting play. I don't. Oh, okay, they're drawing. Okay, so they're really looking for a way to, I guess, remove these creatures. So I'm going to go for Halana and Alina here, so we can trample over with the Kodama at their face, and then we'll aim at Sorin with the etching. As I said, if they block here, they don't get the Curse-bound Witch trigger, so we know they're playing Witch's Vengeance, so even if they have another one of those, it doesn't get rid of the Kodama at this point, and we're ramping ourselves in the process. So while Sorin is handy for drawing, it's dangerous against aggro decks to be paying too much life to draw your card. So if that's not a land on top, which I'm guessing it's not based on how long it's taken the opponent, it's a real choice on whether to pay it or not. So paying 3 for Agadeem's Awakening there, to potentially have to pay 3 to put it in again. So that's 6 life they paid for that land, which means they really desperately need it. Yeah, to get to the 5 for Doomscar. Luckily, I can Reckless Stormseeker to hit them in the face. I will then Kumano faces Kakazan for 1 more damage, leaving them on 1. I assume a minus Sorin this turn, just because they can't really take any card off the top. So maybe a hook into minus Sorin or something along those lines. Yep. So Meat Hook gives them 1 life back. Obviously her minus is Sorin this time. So we can't cast a creature, unfortunately, but we can get 2 2/2s. I will hold this flare, I think, for now. Obviously, the reason I would have cast it last turn is because they can now deadly dispute their creature. But I think in this particular case, them not knowing what I've got as this last card is actually more powerful. It might affect the way they play a bit more. It's a risky play because you're looking for a 1-drop or a land doing it that, and they have not found it. Okay, I'll flare that now because we don't want Arlen to die if we can help it. I don't really want to give the opponent 2 life. I assume that they do have another board wipe here, and that is why they're attacking with that tool. So another Witch's Vengeance nicely takes out my 2 wolves. However, I do have a 2/2 with haste coming off the Kumano next turn. So they'll gain 2 life back. We get our 2/2 to hit them with. I can only plus Harlan this time to keep them guessing. I think it's worth hitting Sorin. I don't know. Thing is, hitting Sorin means they can't get the 2/3 for sure, but keeping them very low stops them really using Sorin's plus. I think we'll hit Sorin. And then what we want to do is not cast a spell, because Arlen being nighttime, far more valuable to me at the moment, having that 5/5 indestructible haste trample, as I don't have any other creatures to play. And now we can Brittle Blast this Nighthawk. They have managed to double spell, so Arlen will flip back. At least we can exile, or either exile their ominous traveller here, or force them to go to 2. Yeah, they're not willing to take the chance. We'll just plus our Arlen here, and I'll hold this land in my hand, I think, because we're not gaining anything by showing them that, and 6 lands is more than enough to do anything with in this deck, really. And we've managed to not cast any spells, obviously, due to drawing a land, so Arlen has flipped to nighttime again, so the opponent will have to either double spell or remove Arlen. Okay, I didn't really see that one coming. They have double spelled and made us sacrifice our remaining creature. And we're just flooding out, unfortunately, a bit here. So this becomes a 3/4 that can buff itself. So they could actually kill off Arlen even if we plus it. Could be worth taking the 2 wolves. But then really giving them 2 wolves that I can't do that much with. It's just potentially giving them life to gain out of Meathook. God, this flood at the end really has been painful. What do we do with Arlen? I think I'll plus it. That's what I can't really decide between the two, but my instinct is saying to plus it here, force them to deal with it. I think 2/2/2 wolves is easier for this opponent to deal with this deck. Problem is they transform Henrika, they can buff it and hit. That takes them up to like 9 life, starting to look very difficult to kill. If they see that line forwards, of course. I don't think they are seeing that line forward just because of how long they're taking. I think that's the obvious play to me, but let's see. They didn't buff Henrika, which means Arlen stays transformed, which is nice. We have yet more land though. It's unbelievable. Okay, we can hit with Arlen this turn at least. Have to kill off Sorin here. Stop these flyers coming out. However, we're about to give them a load of life back in the air. We've had 9 lands and 18 cards now, so we're well above what we should be, but that is the beauty of Magic the Gathering, I suppose. There goes our Arlen. I think it's concede time. I'll see what my top deck is. No. GG. Yeah, managed to lose another 100 places just for that that flooding of land, but never mind. We'll try again. Okay, next game, playing against someone slightly lower ranked this time, so I'm expecting an easier game. It does tend to make quite a bit of difference at this point in the month if you're playing someone who's fallen off the bottom of the Mythic ladder. Okay, we don't have a 1-drop, and only a removal is 2-drop, but I think I have to keep it anyway. 3 lands hand, I'll probably mulligan down to get a 1 land hand, so in this case, the land balancing, and there is a curve to this hand, it's slightly too nice to get rid of. But definitely at the bad end of keepable hands. At least we have a target for our removal. Okay, we've actually drawn a creature to play, which is much preferable. Actually get some pressure on the board. See what this blue artifacts deck is about. Obviously can't block their flyer. What's going on? Well, ninjutsu, of course. Circuit Moon Hacker. I don't even know what this is. Draw a card and discard a card. Okay. Maybe they were missing their land drop there. I think we'll make them have the bounce for this Rahilda. No fading hope. No. Okay. Let's see what cards we can get to play. 1,000 Phase Shadow, not particularly helpful for us. Or Essence Capture. Again, not particularly helpful. We'll just put Kodama on. I think if I draw a land, I've got my Raiju. I've got a whole ton of removal to play against whatever else the opponent has here. And I can always play their cards against them. Okay, I think there's a good chance that we're playing against the counter spell that taps an artifact here. Okay, never mind. Opponent got bored of me overthinking what counter they might have, and despite losing 100 plays last turn, we've gained back about 40 this turn. Okay, let's try again. Okay, on to the next one. So we have our 1-drop, which basically makes this playable. Would be nice to be able to draw a 2-drop in order to utilize the second phase of the saga. Let's see. Nope. So we're all about turn 3. Okay, automaton deck. Seen a few of them around. They tend to be a little bit slow against this deck, but let's see. The thing is, if the automaton starts to get at all big, we will just spend a whole turn killing it, even through its ward 2. But often it's too slow to race us anyway. I will need the second red for Raiju though at some point. Otherwise we're going to dry up again of stuff to do. Come on, Schizo. Pretty nasty, hitting for 7. Or only 4 if they don't attack with the automaton. Maybe they want to trade it off. Not sure. There's my second red, but partner's down first. We'll put the 1/1s on the Kumano. Then attack for 8. Okay, I don't think the opponent can just afford to put in Ronins because they can't even get past the Stormseeker. So let's see what else they've got. Okay, 2 blue left to do something with. Unfortunately, that's probably all they wrote for this interesting artifact deck. Yeah, just always a little bit too slow, I find, building up this automaton against any real deck. I have tried to make a deck around it myself and struggled, but it's a good example there of how we can beat that kind of deck down pretty quickly. Okay, next game. Okay, time to continue the long climb upwards. Let's see what we get here. My god, we've actually got on the play 1-drop and 2-drop. It's the dream for this deck. Very cool Wanderer sleeves. Let's see what we're playing against. some more Orzhov for a change. This is where the Kamano faces Kakazan really earns its keep, though. It's Esper. Esper with Sun Gold Sentinel. Okay. Not what I expected. Esper creatures? Not sure. Opponent down to 9, end of turn 3. Oh, it's Esper Venture. Oh god. Venture is such a waste of time. I don't know why people are still persisting with it. I'm tempted to just... No, we have to do this. Should we swing with the adversary as well? Yeah. If they block, with Brittle Blast whatever they put in place next time and then win. Yeah, Venture is just incredibly slow. At least we gained a bit more rank for that one. Okay, up onwards and up. Okay, next game. Got a reasonable start, no one drop, but we're on the plate. Probably put Rahilda down. Although it is tempting to go for the Tech Wrecker just for the 3 toughness. This is just a bluff. For sure. Yeah. That's where we need the Kakazan versus Kamano to deal with this. Kamano versus Kakazan. I think getting Kodama down is the right move here. Probably should have attacked first there just to see what they did, but I'm not sure that it would affect their decision too much. There's the third Eye Twitch out of their deck. Snow-covered swamps, so there's going to be blood on the snows at some point. Very nice. Bit of a pain to deal with for us, this Death Toucher, but... Quite like a land here to keep the pressure on, but no, we'll get rid of the Death Toucher and just keep swinging. At least the Eye Twitch then gets exiled as well when it dies, thanks to the Brittle Blast affecting all of the creatures. Whilst it feels like quite a commanding position, we have missed a land drop and the opponent does have 7 cards in their hand, so it's a little bit worrying. Jadar is interesting. I think we'll ride you here just so we can actually start to pull some lands out with Kodama before it dies. Because if I can give anything trample and they've only got 1 blocking toughness. I think we'll give it to the Rahilda as it's the least likely to be targeted by any removal spells. At least we can virtually play their deck against them if we run out of all other options. The block with the Jadar there means we are getting meat hooked for 3 next time. But yeah. Oh. At least the opponent is down to 5, so you can tell that someone's excited about their hook play coming up. They drop that land so quickly. You can just feel that coming. Feel it coming. Back up to 8. And Warlock class for 1 damage. I think we will Arlen just to get some sustainable board presence with the Tenacious Pup. Because now they'll need another meat hook, which they probably have, or Blood on the Snow. Okay, interesting. So here we have 6 lands. So do we use the den? I think so. So if I do this, use the den, it's 1/1 goblin, comes in as a 2/2. I'd like to keep my hand, at least keep something back for when we get swept again at some point. And we can drop an eye twitch in, thanks to attacking with the wolves, which will be a 2/2 as well. So they're going to kill off the den, which implies they're relying on more board wipes to me again. Sadly for the eye twitch, we don't actually have any lessons in the sideboard. I haven't thought that far ahead. Should definitely add some. It's going to be a 3/3, but at least we can discard and draw. Although I know I'll end up discarding a Rahilda and drawing a land and then being none the better. So they could still meet hook for 3. Ah, not got one. Wonderful. Just about managed to overpower there, but it was definitely close. Yeah. Next one. Going straight back into a game here. 1 drop, 3 drop, 2 4 drops. That'll do. We're on the play again. All those times on the draw. The law of averages is finally working out. Would love any 2 drop here. Any 2 drop in the deck, please. No, at least we got a 1 drop. So we can get a 2/3 down, which then buffs our Kodama up to a 4/4. Not the end of the world. So we're playing against a Gruul deck back. They've got the sort of nut draw, Tenacious Pup into Werewolf pack leader. I still think I'm going to go Kodama here, although it is close. The thing is, whatever I put in, I might end up having to jump the pack leader with if they... Nah, probably not. I think Kodama. If I'd had 3 wolves, the Tovola would have been the choice, but I haven't. So they've got 1 snow-covered forest, but at least they have a long way from 3 snow permanents to get that indestructibility from Blizzard Brawl. So it'll cost them their pack leader if they do that on the Kodama. Okay, I think we're going to trade here. Although, if we do, we're going to have to block with everything in case there's an inscription. The thing is, the opponent wants to kill off the Kodama anyway, so we'll put everything behind it just in case. Hopefully we foiled a plan there. I'd like my red mana now to be able to swing with the Raiju. Sadly we haven't, but we can drop a Tovola in and then swing team. Happy to trade for a pup for the Kamano here, or a pup for a pup, which they can't do. It's 3 toughness, so there'd be 2 blocking this that they could do. Interesting that that would be the choice to double block. I suppose they could be doing a combat trick now, but a combat trick to kill a Tenacious Pup seems curious. Fair enough. I would say that's a bit of a waste of a Snakeskin Veil, but they probably don't know how much removal we're running. Not that we've seen any yet. Yeah, we're definitely not blocking that. Then Blizzard Brawl. Yeah. At least they've had to use 2 spells there to remove that. I'd say we're slowly chewing through all of the opponent's removal, which is good. Oh, sugar, I could have played the Arlen there. I just blindly thought I didn't have enough mana because I haven't been able to play the Raiju's. Gosh, what an idiot. Okay, we'll play the partners. I think we're the beatdown now. Opponent wants to be careful. So they have to block here, at least one. I think blocking with both shows that I think they know they've lost. I'm not sure what possible winning card they can have here. I have finally realised that they are no longer the beatdown. I think we just get the extra, this Raiju out and keep swinging. Because both are going to do 3 damage before, yeah, this is over. Just about overcame there. I think the size of our creatures just meant that they had to spend a little bit too much of their resources clearing out the threats and managed to push through over the top. It's a good example of where us drawing those red cards against them has really paid off. And also, example why I don't run Blizzard Brawl in my multicolored deck, just because the lands don't let it work as well as it does in the mono green version. Okay, onwards and upwards. Okay, just a very quick roundup here on untap.gg. Have a little look at the stats of the deck. So, looking at only the latest version, which is the one where I've removed Paxong Pup and put in the adversaries Goro and a Capitet Wrecker, we're looking at 72% win over, what's that, 43 games? That's not too bad. It's all been played through Mythic again, so 72% win rate at Mythic is pretty good. 80% nearly on the play and 60% on the draw. I mean, that's kind of classic aggro deck split. But definitely performing better for me than the old modify then destroy deck that I put together. As you can see, the only things that we're particularly struggling against are Orzhov. Basically, if you don't get the Kakazan versus Kamano, Kamano versus faces Kakazan even, and exiling away the little weenies, then that one is a tough matchup purely due to the controlling nature of it. Enchantments, not really enough to sort of say about, but yeah, it can be a tricky matchup. And then I've played against the same Rakdos control player a few times, are the main sort of things. But you know, against the things that we run into all the time, mono green, mono white, performing very well, and mono black particularly well. So yeah, it's a good one for climbing in the ladder because it is quite good. Quick games as well, 40 games in about 3 hours. It's pretty fast. And yeah, I'd recommend giving it a go, and let me know if you have any feedback on the deck or if you want to see anything similar. The next deck will be different, I promise. I just thought I'd better issue a a revised version of this one, as I had found quite a few changes to the original version that I put out, and I think it's important to be constantly sort of refining the decks that you're playing with and thinking about ways to improve them, and this one was quite a large overhaul. So yeah, as I said, I'll put out something different next time, and yeah, thanks for watching.